Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of R.C.W. Top 10. This week we're going to be counting down the top 10 most hated people of all time. Now, this is sort of an opinionated list, and everyone's list is going to be different. And this one may be slightly biased, but we tried to keep it as partial as possible. And when you see the top 3, you'll realize that we tried to be as impartial as possible to this list. Now, what racks up heat, you say? Mostly a lot on the wall can piss people off. Some will have certain explanations as to why they fit on the list, but some people feel like they shouldn't. And just generally promos being boring, negative fan interactions, so many different things can get you to be one of the most hated people of all time. So, we're going to get on to number 10. Coming in at number 10 is Kendall, 1056. Now, the reason that I say this is because, well, he's hated by a select group of people. And when certain emotions take over, it becomes less and less of a likable experience for some people. Now, while most times he is quite likable, that's why he comes so low on this list, it's just the specific group and demographic that hates him and otherwise. Now, again, there's some people that are just hated because they're hated. No particular reason behind it. But some people just have that, and you'll see that later on this list a couple more times. So that's Kendall 1056 at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is LL Queen or whatever, and Painful. Now the reason that they're tied is because mostly they hate each other. But at the same time, there's people picking sides. Oh, I think Painful's right and you're being a total bitch about this. Oh, I think Queen's right and you're just being completely irrational. Blah, 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 blah. It's back and forth. It's like World War I. Reference that you guys probably don't get because reasons. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to say about it. There are two people that constantly argue on the wall and fill up the wall with page after page after page long of arguments and at the show and trying to shut each other up in matches. And who knows, maybe even WrestleMania might be the perfect stage of them all to finally end this rivalry. So that's Queen and Painful coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Mater the Great, 1, 2, 3. Now, this one may be slightly biased, putting him so much higher on the list. But I can also list a couple other people that may not like him with his tendency to over-ask for N1Cs, to force his way, to be a little bit rude, to be a kind of a spammer. That's kind of annoying. All in all, he's not all that bad. He's not all that hated because he's such a rude guy, but I can't see much other reason other than what I listed, and that's why he comes so much lower at number 8. Now, personal reasons aside, I think number 8 is a fairly fitting spot for Mater the Great, but you can decide. That's Mater the Great coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Rapid, Cool, Tough Guy. Now, why does he come so much higher on this list? Well, there's a lot of people that just hate him for what he's accomplished. And as rational and irrational as that is, you can see where people are coming from. I mean, he is the United States champion that's held it since Royal Rumble. He is the Royal Rumble victor, guaranteed a world title main event match at WrestleMania. And so much more. And after his recent outbreak on his last appearance at the show, you can see why he fits so much higher on the list. Now, usually he's quite a likable face and good guy, but sometimes it's just not enough to outweigh what he's accomplished, people being jealous of that, or people just hating him for what he's doing. So that's Rapid, Cool, Tough Guy coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Muddy 22. Now the reason that he's so high on this list could be biasm. Completely possible, don't you agree? Some people adore this guy. Some people find him hilarious. Some people find him completely justified with where he's coming from after recently being unfired from the chairman Kids Rock 4, who was right here. And then some people, mostly Corp and people that aren't in his faction, find this guy to be completely over-arrogant, completely annoying, and kind of rude. No clue what I'm talking about? Probably a supporter of Muddy. If you completely agree with everything I just said, you're probably not too much for Muddy. That's what I say. That's why he's only about number 6, is because he's kind of two-sided. Some people love him, some people hate him. Sometimes people don't have reasons for hating him, and some people do, and that's just nature in R.C.W. So that's Muddy 22 coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Luke on the Wall. Now, this guy doesn't come to shows all too often, but when he was on my team, I found him to be completely likable, but wanted to go in a little too much, and maybe asked for a little too much in the tag match. But I understand, you're in a tag match, a giant environment. Everyone wants to go in, and certain people just won't get enough turns. But when it comes to on the wall, this guy thinks he's better than everybody else. Now, whether that's true or not, it sure comes across as a specific message, and I think we've all seen it recently on the wall. All you gotta do is read the wall maybe once a day, and you'll probably see his comments, or go back a couple pages, you'll see them. A lot of his hatred comes towards his arrogance and complete and utter I'm better than you attitude on the wall. Now, I'm not to say that that is a bad thing, because that can set up for some perfectly good rivalries, but this guy hasn't shown in ring that he has what it takes to back it up, as he has not stepped into the ring with Glirax, one of his main targets on the wall. That's Luke, coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have another tie. It is Dean Ambrose, Maniac, and Legend Crusher. Now, these two being tied makes no sense to someone from Corp, or makes no sense to someone who's teamed with Legend and Anti-Corp. It makes no sense, truly, but these two are hated by both sides for different reasons. Sometimes when I see it, I don't see Dean being hated for any particular reason, and sometimes it's just the fact that they're fighting back and forth, and the entire side comes to back him up. Sometimes I don't see it, sometimes I can. That's why Dean comes up so much higher on this list. Is he really that bad a person? Not in my opinion. Is he hated? No denying that. Legend Crusher, however, can have a tendency to have longer timed matches, as we all know, and just tendency to waste time. Now, some people find him hilarious, and at times, I'll admit, what he does is quite funny. But sometimes when you're, 7:20, and it's an hour and 20-minute show, and you're only up to his wish match, which, mind you, is in the middle of the list, it gets a little redundant. So, for different reasons, sometimes no reasons, it is Dean Ambrose Maniac and Legend Crusher coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Kids Rock 4. Now, some people are going to disagree with the top 3 like every single list does. Usually there's about anywhere from 2 to 5 people that can fit the number 1 bill just perfectly. And it all really depends on what you see. Now, myself, I don't see it as that bad, but other teams are going to see it as a lot worse. Each and every single time there's a promo from the chairman of the board, there is boos coming from the crowd, ridiculously so, coming from each and every faction except for the corporation and corporation supporters. Now, why? Maybe sometimes it's a little redundant having too many promos. Maybe it's a little annoying sitting through them. Sometimes it's just the entire faction building around it. But for whatever reasons build behind it for you, Kids Rock 4 comes in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Eddie Armour 9373. Now, recently, this person has become a lot more likable, and if this list maybe was done a month and a half ago, like it had been suggested as such, but letting the list ferment over a longer period of time makes it a higher quality list, in my opinion, in most cases. Eddie Armour has become a little more respected among peers, loved by his team and some members of Nexus, and a little less unbearable by some members of Corp. But definitely from his past, he would have definitely been able to almost pull off the number 1 spot. He can have a tendency to be over-arrogant, make excuses to some people's opinion, be viewed as a bully by some. It's really what you think. I mean, some people that are in Airboom are going to see this guy as an angel, as a perfectly good soul, but then some people from Corp and Nexus aren't going to see it the same way. Like I said, every single person on this list is hated for different reasons and hated by different people. It really depends on what side you are. Eddie Armour might not even scrape the list for you, and sometimes he'll be number 1. It really depends, but we tried to keep this as unbiased as possible. That's Eddie Armour at number 2. Coming in at number 1, little hard to say from the perspective of somebody who might actually like him, although I haven't actually seen many people that actually like him. And then some people that try to get this guy's job back despite their lack of knowledge of his past. You probably already know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Hungry Sniper Fish. Now, on the wall, clearly nothing but trying to start trouble with people. Enjoys tormenting the heck out of people. It's just an ugly mess. And it wasn't much better when he was around from January to March and briefly in May. So, in the 4 months of his career, give or take, he managed to become one of the most despised people that wasn't actually intending to be such a hated person and was just following up with what he does naturally. Now, ever since then, after being let back to comment on the wall, this guy has stirred trouble with almost every single superstar except for Glirax. Noticing a trend? So yeah, for a long list of reasons, I put Hungry Sniper Fish at number 1. That could be my own personal bias for not putting myself at number 1, but it really depends on what you think is worse. Walls, promos, general attitude is whatever you think is the worst. But this is our personal list. I feel free to let you make your own list in the comment section below, titling each person, so who knows. Thank you, R.C.Ws, for checking out this episode of R.C.W. Top 10. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This has been one of the most requested lists of all time, yet one of the hardest to make. Actually, the list itself wasn't too hard to make, but back a while ago, when, Painful and Queen and Luke and whatnot weren't actually here, it's a little harder to make the list, a little harder to fill it up. Now, we hope that nobody that actually was on this list takes offense to it. I mean, I even put myself at number 3, even though, obviously the most loved person. Do you hear those cheers every time I come down the ramp? It's just crazy. Sometimes I have to take away cheer tools because there's just too much cheering. Definitely not the boo tools. Anyway, and if you think some people such as Franklin and whatnot that are actually just supposed to be hilarious on the wall, just no. Okay. So thank you, RCWs, for checking out this episode of RCW Top 10, Stutter as Hell. Make sure to check out 2 Top 10s next weekend, and WrestleMania, and the Hall of Fame ceremony, and Saturday Morning Slam, and maybe, probably not Raw WWE. Anyway, there's daily content on the RCW network, Sunday through Saturday, top 10s every single weekend, and occasional stuff such as satirical films, cahoots, certain things that aren't being uploaded too often. Anyway, I'm Kids Rock 4, and I approve this message.